Hello everyone, Neil Tappin here from Golf Monthly and welcome to the London Club. In this video, looking at how many wedges different types of golfer should carry. It's all part of the big kind of puzzle that every golfer needs to work out. So how many fairway woods, hybrids, utility irons do you carry at the top end of the bag, and then how many wedges should you have at the bottom end of the bag? And in this video, we're going to take a look at some of the factors you should consider. Right, let's get started.
Okay, so the first thing to say is if you really want to find out exactly the best wedge lineup for your game, then I would recommend going through a wedge fitting with somebody who really knows what they're doing. It's something that I did probably 3 years ago now, and I found that it benefited me really a lot in two different ways. One, working out my pitching distances, and then two, providing me with a chipping club. So my most lofted wedge had a loft bounce sole configuration that helped me hit those bunker shots and lofted chip shots around the green that little bit better. So there we go, I've said it. I know that a lot of people watching this won't want to go through a wedge fitting. And if you don't, then we're going to talk through some of the kind of basic principles to think about. The first is, and it's probably a bit of a generalization, but there's some truth behind it, is that longer hitters will probably require more wedges than shorter hitters. It stands to reason that if you're hitting your driver consistently 300 yards, then you're probably able to hit your wedge, let's say 140 yards. And if you've got 140 yards into the green with your pitching wedge, then you've got a lot of ground to cover with your other wedges. So you're likely to need more wedges than a shorter hitter who, let's say, only hits their pitching wedge 90 yards. They've got less ground to cover. Now, the other thing to consider is to make sure that you have even loft gaps between your wedges. This will mean that you have even distance gaps. Now, the thing that you absolutely have to avoid anywhere in your golf club set is to have two clubs that go the same distance. That's such a waste, and it does happen, so just be mindful of that. If your lofts are too close to each other, you might end up hitting two wedges, I don't know, only 5 yards apart from each other, as I say, which is a waste. So I think the first thing that I would do would be probably to figure out how far I hit my set pitching wedge. I think a lot of golf club sets, they're getting stronger in lofts. I looked at one yesterday, I think it was the Callaway ST Rogue Max, which has a pitching wedge of 41 degrees, which is quite strong really. Mine's 46 degrees. So that's something to bear in mind. But I would figure out how far you carry your set pitching wedge as a kind of good starting point, which is something I'm gonna do here. So I've got the Garmin Approach R10 launch monitor on the ground. I've got the app running opposite me. I've got a green that's about 40 yards in length from front to back. So it's a good green to give me a gauge on how far I'm hitting it. So I'm gonna hit one with my 46 degree pitching wedge to start with. Okay, I've hit that up in the air a bit, so it's maybe not gone as... Okay, that's right at the back of the green. That's good, so that gives us an idea. So the launch monitor is telling me that's carried 132. So from there, I think my next thing would be to think about the most lofted wedge I'd want in my bag. So let's say there's a few different things here. You're going to need a lofted wedge to help you hit bunker shots and lofted chip shots around the green. So how much is the most amount of loft that you want in your hands at the bottom end of the bag? So for a lot of golfers, I think a lob wedge is quite intimidating. Looking down on that much loft leads to kind of thin shots and chunked chip shots a lot. If you fall into that category, then maybe a SAM wedge, a sort of 56 degree wedge, is your most lofted wedge in your bag. So once you've worked out kind of how much loft you want to carry, hit a pitch shot with that club. For me, it's 58 degree, and I don't tend to hit this flat out. So I think on the golf course, I'd only ever probably hit this at sort of 80% max, because otherwise it just sort of spirals up into the air a bit. Okay, so I've hit that fairly well, and that has carried 84 yards. And therefore, I would have a decision to make as to whether I'd want to hit my pitching wedge and hit half shots with my pitching wedge to fill that gap, or whether I'd want to fill that with other wedges, one or two other wedges. Now, it's an important point to make here would be, part of this depends on where your strengths and weaknesses lie. If you're really good at those half pitch shots, then maybe you don't need to carry an awful lot of wedges. Maybe you can carry more fairway woods or hybrids at the top end of the bag. For me, I'm not great at half pitch shots sort of naturally, and B, I don't really get the time to practice them as much as I'd like. So I would rather fill that gap with wedges. I've got two, and they're all in at even loft gaps, so they go 4 degrees. So I go 46, 50, 54, 58. So I'm going to hit one with my 50 and see how far that carries. And if we've got this right, there should be a fairly even kind of spread of distance gaps between the different wedges in my bag. So I'm going to hit my 50. I've hit that really well. And that has gone 117. That's gone 117. And then my 54 degree wedge, which is here. I've hit with this. It's gone up quite high in the air. That's gone up 99 yards. Hopefully that gives you an idea of the sort of thing that you're looking for. For me, being a longer hitter, I get a lot of shots in this kind of area, a lot of shots from the kind of 100 yards, 140 yard mark. So having clubs that I don't have to manipulate too much, that I can make a nice normal swing and hit those yardages is really important. So there you have it, that's our look at how many wedges you should think about carrying. I think for most people it's a choice between 2, 3 and 4 wedges, and I think the most popular setup is 3 wedges, but there's so many individual factors here that you'll need to consider for yourself, things like how far you hit the ball and your strengths and weaknesses as well. I hope you found that helpful, but that's it for now from the London Club. Thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.